Rick and Ted know Rick and
Yeah.
Ted.
And I'm one of these people, it's funny, I still like to look at you when you're talking. And when I'm talking, I like to look at everyone. And I'm like, I know you're not, but it's just me.
That grid view.
Yeah. I'm still getting dressed. Thank you for that.
I don't want to show you my cane.
All the tattoos become visible then. Okay. Well, we've got a fair number of folks, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with sharing my screen, and y'all know, well, some of you know what's coming. I'm going to share the screen.
Ding-a-ding-ding.
And we get to the bell to start the meeting. So the meeting called to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Brad to lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. You can have a seat. And pause that. Next, the four-way test. So I'm going to go with, let's go with Mike Curtis.
Hey, is it the truth? Are you guys joining me? Is it the truth? Is it fair, all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be
Beneficial to all concerned? And have fun.
Number 5. Yeah.
Have fun.
All righty. I'm going to stop the share. Now, I will say, when I sent out the agenda, I said we were going to do this and then jump right into the presentation. But there is just one other thing that I just want to mention before we get going. We have a newlywed at our meeting.
Whoa.
Why are you looking behind you, Ann?
Oh, yeah, there she is.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ann.
And turn your mute off.
Congratulations.
And you're muted.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations. That was really nice to see.
It was a beautiful, beautiful day, and it was a little COVID sneak away, and it was perfect for us. So hopefully we'll have a party if parties are available in December. We're hoping. My son's going to come for a couple weeks, and we're hoping to have a little get together. So everyone's invited.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, congratulations. That's good news.
Thank you.
And I think we all like a little good news in this time, so it's all good. All right. So now I am going to turn it over to Mike Curtis. Mike is the one who put this all together, this program. So I'm going to let him jump in and get us going. If everyone could mute, I don't want to mute everyone this time because then I know there are going to be a lot of people muting and unmuting. So if you can all just mute yourselves, that would be much appreciated. Mr. Mike.
Hi, my name is Mike Curtis. I've been a Rotarian for 40 years. Been through a couple hurricanes and the demise of sugar. And I've watched the Kauai kids and the families getting stressed from these financial situations and physical as far as hurricanes, and recognize that there's a lot of stress with kids not being in school, home, families home with no unemployed. So the financial stress on our Kauai community is significant, and by getting some feedback about what a powder keg the family stress is creating for Kauai. As Rotarians, we're in a position to help because we know both sides of the coin. We know the people that can help, and we know the people that need help. Putting the two together is the key, and this was the start of it. I've invited, Holly Opio, Maya Kayal, and Kevin Lowry, Child and Family Service Hawaii, that we partner with our kids' Christmas program, hosting 100 Child Family Service kids to a Christmas movie, bento breakfast, and a wrapped gift given by Santa Claus every Christmas. and through Child and Family Services. We also invited the YWCA, who continues to be the leading advocate for eliminating domestic violence. I understand domestic violence is up 50 to 100% in the last 3 months because of this financial stress. Also, Alice Luck from the Kauai Planning and Action Alliance has agreed to present to us and share with us the dramas and traumas that the families are going through. So I'd like to turn it over to Maya Tayal now and present to us what Holly Opio and Kevin Lowry can offer us as far as the experiences of Kauai families now and possibly what Rotarians on Kauai can do to help. So Maya, you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, good, thanks.
Okay. Kevin just texted me, so I'm hoping he'll sign on. Thank you again for having us. We're really grateful, and it's great to see so many faces and see everybody doing so well. So I know we have a limited time, so I'll get right to it. I believe we forwarded some information about Halio-PO and our various programs, so Mike will be sharing that. As far as programs, I run the community programs department here at Halio-PO. We have about 8 programs that service youth. We serviced about 3,500 youth in the community last year. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Halio-PO's programs, but I'll go over a few of them, and then hopefully Kevin will join in and talk about our treatment programs. So as far as community programs, we have Teen Court, which is juvenile justice and restorative programs. Esther Solomon is the coordinator of that program. And we probably process about 100 youth a month in that program when we were active before COVID. So that deals with the vaping classes. These are youth under 18. And then once they complete Teen Court, their record is actually expunged, which is the best part of the program, rather than going through family court. Because if they go through family court, as you know, they would probably have a record. So that's the best part of the program. But we also deal with truancy, runaway, assault cases, and we teach anger management and conflict resolution in that program. And then we also have EHE case management, where we have a case manager for our foster youth. We currently have about 30 foster youth in that program. And some of those youth are in our own foster homes. We have 4 foster homes, which hopefully Kevin will talk about. And then we have the AMUA program, which is our prevention program, which is a program that we're really proud of, where we actually go into the schools and the community and talk about bullying, positive action, healthy relationships. As you all know, July is Healthy Relationships Month, so we're talking to our youth at this month about teen dating violence and suicide and bullying, and we hope to expand that program with CARES funding if it comes through, and working with Alice. And then we also have Keikahua and Street Outreach. So Street Outreach is our homeless program. Our focus is on homeless youth, but of course, as you know, it's very difficult to find the homeless youth. We do service at the shelter once a month. Before COVID, we serve dinner. We also serve at Salvation Army once a month. And on Fridays, Valerie Fafford, who's the staff member that runs the Street Outreach program, her and I go to the food bank and we fill up the company van, and we go out to the beaches and ballparks and give out food and hygiene products. And we actually just got a bicycle donated from Wilcox, so we're looking to be able to give that to someone as well. We're very fortunate. Our Keikahua program is more focused on cultural programming, and we do 8 large cultural programs a year, mostly at the mall or in the community at Lidgate. And so typically we can get about 250 people at each program each year. So we get quite a turnout of families. We give away backpacks, school supplies, things like that. And I also just wanted to make a plug that there's the back to school bash, I believe, this weekend at the mall. Oh, there's Kevin. So I'll give him a few minutes, but that's most of our programs. And oh, I just wanted to also say that we have a new workforce development program, which is really critical right now for our youth in Kauai. We will be servicing youth that are between 16 to 24, and it's to help them with job employment, training, resume writing, and interviewing. So that's our newest program that we are just starting. So we're really excited about that. So Kevin, welcome.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Kevin.
I have so many meetings. I didn't realize that, that today was the day, and I actually am in my pajamas. I know this is probably too much information, but I actually put on a collared shirt and sitting on the bed and trying to get my mind together about what I was supposed to say. Now, that's probably way too much information, but that's how I roll a little bit. So I think a couple years ago, I may have come with Patricia and given a presentation to you guys at the Rotary Club down in the South there. So we came and talked about some of the things we do. So I don't know if some of the people were in the room that were there before, but I guess I'll just explain a little bit about what we do on the treatment side. I think, sorry for being late, but I think, Maya probably explained this. We have the community side of our program, and then we have the treatment side of our program. And I think Maya probably just gave an overview of what they did on the community side. On the treatment side, we do a number of different things. We have a residential program. We have contracts with the state, different parts of the state, Department of Health and the Department of Health Services. And the Department of Health, which is KMD, they're called transitional family homes. So kids come, they're referred by the state, connection has been broken with their families or whatever it is, and it's up to us within the 6 month, they say 6 to 9 months of trying to work with the kids, work with the families, and then getting them back into their homes. The reality of that is that really is not how it works, because sometimes trying to identify caretakers where the kids are going to go back home is difficult. So a lot of times we're keeping kids for up to 2 and 3 years at a time. That is the reality of that. And a lot of times we even transition them out, make sure they get their high school diploma, make sure they move on to the next phase in their life. So that's one area we do the residential program. We also have a contract with the Office of Youth Services where we have residential beds, and basically we perform the same services for them. So those services include having a therapist, being involved in an independent living skill program. A lot of that is centered around, we send a lot of our kids to Maya in her community program to do things like financial literacy, healthy relationship programs, a whole variety of classes. So we really use our community program to upskill our kids who are in our residential program. So we also have beds with the Office of Youth Services. We also, as I said, have a contract with the Department of Health Services. We also have the emergency shelter program on the island. And that is, so let's say I get a call from DHS at any given time of the day or night. They have to remove a kid from a home. If we have availability, we take those kids in. We keep them anywhere, usually from a week, sometimes up to a year, depending if they cannot find a family member to take them back, or somebody else, a resource caregiver to take them. So that's another thing. We also, we're kind of the only game in town when it comes to the residential part of the area. We're trying to serve the whole Kauai community residentially when kids don't have anywhere to go. And so we also have a contract with CMO, which is Crisis Mobile Outreach. So when kids go into crisis, they go to Wilcox, they get evaluated, and if it's determined that they don't go back home or to a hospital on Oahu, we get them for 3 to 7 days, try to get them stabilized, and then send them back to wherever they had come from. So that's kind of the residential part. Then we also have what is called our in-home support program, where we actually go into homes with our therapists. We work with the families and the kids, and this is to try to keep kids in their home so they don't have to be removed. So we go in, that's 3 to 5 months. Therapist does work with the individual kids, does work with the families, and hopefully within that 3 to 5 month period, enough work is done so then everything can go back to status quo or more functioning level in the family than it was before. So we do a wide, vast variety of things. There is one other organization in the community that has residential contracts also, but it's very difficult to find foster parents or professional parents, as we call them, to do this kind of work, because it's very, very difficult. It's very, very hard. We are not getting the kids, the young kids that, people, oh, they're cute, let's adopt them, let's do that. We're not doing that. We're getting kids with a vast variety of problems that we have to, in a very quick amount of time, 6 months to 2 years, get them back on track, get their families back on track, and so they can lead some kind of normal life. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I know we only have a very small time, and I could talk forever, so I will not do that. So anyway, that's that. If anybody's got any questions, I'm more than willing to answer them, or I'm sure Maya is too.
Maya and Kevin, what experience have you had in the last couple of months of increased activity and stress in the families?
Well, that's a good question, Mike. Actually, it's been the opposite. And I was just talking to Madeline, who runs the Kauai Family Guidance Center. It's like the families have disappeared because all the offices have closed down and everything. So it's like the way we get our families in is they go to the Family Guidance Center or the court system or DHS, and they ask for help. If it's deemed that we're the ones who are going to provide that help, then we get a referral and we take that referral. Those referrals have basically been dead over the last 2 or 3 months because I guess families are going underground. They're not, I don't know what that's about. So it's kind of been just status quo, trying to maintain the kids that we have, because the state has been terrified that what we'll do is we'll pull the trigger on discharging kids with bad behavior right now, and they don't know what to do with them in this COVID thing. So we've really not had to do that. The kids, the families have done a good job. But Mike, it's pretty much dead. So I was talking to the Kauai Family Guidance Center, the lady who runs it, Maddie, and she was thinking about how they can get back out in the community and find these families now who really do need the help, because people aren't coming and there's a lot of issues out there. And so that's something that they're looking at right now.
It's interesting. On the community side, we actually had an increase in our case management referrals for youth ages 18 to 24. I'm guessing they're wanting some additional support. So for our Muakako program, Rai is the case manager. We actually had about 10 new referrals since COVID started. So the youth are seeking help. I'm not sure if that's with some assistance from DHS or CFS worker or somebody pushing it, but we've actually seen a slight increase. And we've been coping with COVID. We've been providing remote services, contacting clients weekly, and we actually offer classes on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to our foster youth, including some of the treatment youth. And then we do outings on Thursdays with the youth to the beach or horseback riding, cultural lessons, just to keep them engaged so they're not sitting at home every day of the week, and to provide the foster parents some relief.
Thanks, Maya. I also want to note that on the chat, I've uploaded the bios of the speakers today that you can download via the chat portion of this Zoom meeting. I'd like to ask Natalie Jensen of Child and Family Service to share with us your experiences.
Hi, good morning. My name is Natalie Jensen. I'm with Child and Family Service. A lot of you know Child and Family Service for our neighborhood places. And our neighborhood places are Nana's House in Waimea and Hale Ho'omalu in Kapa'a. And we have had such a rich relationship with the Rotarians over the years. We've been so grateful for all of your support. And as I see, Ron Mayberry, he's such a great volunteer who helps us with our food pantry shopping each week. So our relationship with the Rotarians has been so great, and we've been really grateful for all the support you've provided over the years. When we talk about our neighborhood places, through this COVID pandemic, we have seen a definite increase in the needs for our services. So as many of you know, our neighborhood places offer several food pantry days each week, where we give food to the needy, anyone who's food insecure, and we don't really ask a whole lot of questions if somebody needs food. We're here to help them with that. With that, we use that opportunity to build relationships with the families that are coming in. We know that if they're coming in for food, it's really likely that they might have other needs going on in their families as well. So we use that time when they're with us to pick up food to build relationships with them and offer them some of the other services that our neighborhood places offer, such as applying for food stamps, SNAP. We have parenting classes. We have free counseling and therapy. And right now we're doing a lot of counseling with mostly youth right now who are struggling with the things that are going on right now. We offer case management services, help with housing and job placement, helping people obtain needed documents for the things that they might be like driver's license or birth certificates to help them move forward in their life. And one of the big things that we like to do at our neighborhood places is our family nights, our family activities, where we host a dinner and provide some kind of a family activity where we model families how to enjoy family or quality time with each other. In the past, we've done several bingo nights. In this last holiday season, we did a penny sale where children were able to come in and pick out presents for their parents. And while their children were picking out presents, we had the parents in a parenting class or a skills-based class. Or we like to host these different activities to help the families learn healthy ways to interact with each other. We create it as a fun environment, but throw in a lot of skills in the process of communication skills, relationship-based skills to help families build better relationships. We are, as due to COVID, we've seen a big increase in our need for services. We are going to be hosting a Festival of Hope. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to offer an event in Waimea and one in Lahui, where we plan to do a mass scale food distribution event. But with that, we also want to distribute, again, lots of resources to the community as well. Rather than just giving them food, we want to make sure they have resources to substance abuse services, domestic violence services, but we also want to give them family activities that they can do, because so many families are at home. They don't, we want to provide them with games and different activities that they can do during this time of COVID, where they're not necessarily interacting with as many people. And we want to provide them with healthy things to do during this time. In addition to this, I want to talk about some of the youth programs that we run as well. One program that we run is called our Alakai Club, and it's a Hawaii values-based activity group. And we've offered this group in a few different ways. We've offered it in the community, where we've had a group get together and be on site somewhere. We've offered it in the schools, and we've also offered these groups during breaks. So for working parents who don't have anywhere to send their kids during fall break or winter break, we offer these free clubs where parents are able to come, and we teach these Hawaiian values. And so when we'll have activities based on each of the certain Hawaiian values. So for example, when we're teaching the value of kuleana, our youth went to the Menehune fish pond and helped clear out the mangroves. When we're teaching about the importance of ohana, we bring in a guest speaker to teach the youth how to play konani, the Hawaiian checkers board game. And then also we'll have activities on communication skills and resiliency skills. And then we'll take the kids to culturally significant sites around the island so they can understand the importance and the values that are based here in the islands. During COVID, as you can imagine, we have seen we're not able to do as many in-person large number groups. And so our staff are really dedicated to the youth, and they were really concerned that there are a lot of youth who are no longer seeing their friends. They may not be in the healthiest home environments and may be struggling. So we've continued this group in a way virtually. We've put together what we call aloha boxes, where we will deliver this box to the youth's home, and it will have some treats and some games, different activities. And then we will get together virtually in a Zoom meeting much like this, and the kids will go over those same values. And we've had a huge success in being able to engage a lot of our youth who are stuck at home through these virtual groups that we've been able to do during COVID. And so I'm really grateful for our staff who've been creative in finding ways to still connect to our youth who are struggling right now. In addition to that, we have other youth programs. We do the crisis mobile outreach. We go to the homes of children who are, we receive calls from children who are struggling and do an assessment to see if they need to go to the hospital, as Holly Opio just talked about as well. And we also have a positive youth development, and this is more of a one-on-one support for youth, high-risk youth who might be struggling. And we teach them resiliency skills. We teach them how to live independently someday and help. We're always looking for opportunities for these youth to have like internships and different things in the community where they are able to learn some independence living skills where, that's not always easy for youth who don't have a good support system to find on their own. As far as things that we're always looking for is we're constantly trying to enrich the lives of our youth. We're always looking for people with knowledge who are willing to come and be guest speakers in our youth groups. Who, like I said, is when we have someone who knows the Hawaiian checkers game, and he is so wonderful to come and teach the youth how to play this game. And so we're always looking for people who have these skills who might be good guest speakers to come and teach some of these services. So that's just kind of a highlight of a couple of our programs that we run. I'm happy to answer any questions, or I think that's all that I have for today.
So you get support coming outside occasionally the way we do. We have a Rotary Reader program that we read to the kindergarten, first and second grade classes at Koloa Elementary School. And then we have that Child and Family Services. In the discussions this morning, think of ways that Rotarians can help and what kind of needs you have that we can add to. Thanks, Natalie. Any questions for Natalie? We'll have time for question and answer at the end now. Now I'd like to invite the YWCA, Stephanie Iwami and Matt Hauk, to share with us what the Y does, because they're kind of the leading edge of this domestic violence push, because we're experiencing that stress. So I would ask.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Thanks, Mike.
Well, Matt.
Matthew Hauk. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm the lead prevention educator for the YWCA. Hopefully you're familiar with our services, but just a brief overview is, our main services help people in the community who experience domestic violence and sexual assault. So in immediate response, we have two 24/7 hotlines that anybody could call of any age. No information is required for someone to call. So I'll talk about my work with students in schools, but we really try to stress that even if people just had questions and wanted to know what some of their options are, that they could call and ask questions. So we have our 24/7 hotline, one for domestic violence and one for sexual assault. And we have crisis intervention services. So if there is kind of more of a situation that requires support, we can dispatch someone to go be with a survivor. We also have a shelter. It's a family violence shelter that anyone can access to help protect anyone who might not be safe at home. And for someone to access that shelter, they would call the hotline. We also have clinical therapeutic services for victims and survivors of domestic violence and sex assault and their family members. So I believe we see about we see adults and children, and it's pretty equal. And their family members who are also affected by these traumas. I work in our prevention department. So myself and my team go into the schools and we teach a sexual violence prevention curriculum. So we work with kindergarten, preschool, all the way up through high school and some college age levels, really on topics of body safety and how to get help if we need it. So for the littles, that's more of like, who does your body belong to? Like, my body belongs to me. And with the older students, like high school, we talk more about relationships, healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships, dating violence and sexual violence, and consent. And that's like a pretty awesome program. We work with the majority of the schools on the island, and we have a great relationship with a lot of the schools. And that's our team. My biggest impact that we've seen recently is just the immediate abruptness of lesson delivery. Schools shut down pretty quick, went to remote learning pretty quick. We went into, remote work pretty quick. So, we serviced a lot of students in the spring before all of this had started, and it just kind of halted. And so not being able to deliver lessons in class has been pretty challenging, and we believe our program is really important, and we just had to get creative. So one thing that we did with our team was look into ways that we could still access students without being with them in a classroom. And virtual lessons present some challenges. And I think schools were trying to grasp everything of like getting through the rest of the school year anyway. So we know that teenagers are like at home, stuck at home and like on their phones and scrolling or their devices. And so we came up with some like youth advertising campaigns. So those consisted of some radio public service announcement spots that we aired on like Kong and KKCR and a couple other stations. And some of those were targeted specifically to teenagers. And then we did some advertising for Facebook and more importantly, Instagram for the younger ones, and targeted ads specifically to them. Another thing we did was create handouts that we could share with teachers and our school contacts and parents and students about online dangers. So being online and remote work, there's already lots of youth exploitation across the country where youth are victimized and targeted, and that has skyrocketed. And so we just tried to create some materials to share with educators and providers and parents and students to kind of know some of the warning signs and ways to learn more. So I can share that in the chat. And we're still learning about what else we can do. So we're just on hiatus from schools at the moment, hoping to be busier in the spring, or I'm sorry, the fall. But yeah, we were just trying to get creative and figure out how to meet the needs of our youth in the community, and that's still evolving. And Stephanie will be able to talk more about some of our other departments and programs. Thanks.
Thanks, Matthew.
I was trying to figure out if that was my intro. Good morning. I'm Stephanie Iwami, and I'm the Clinical Director of Sex Assault Services at the Y. So we kind of have separated it out just structurally. So I oversee indirect supervision over the Prevention Education Department and their programs and the crisis programs, and then direct supervision over the clinical and the therapeutic staff. And you know, even though I'm overseeing the sex assault programs, I think so many of our programs kind of intermingle. So we see a lot of intersections with sex assault and domestic violence, families that are impacted by oftentimes both types of victimizations. And with the pandemic, you know, I think there's been a lot of talk about it, and I'm sure everybody can imagine it's just presented some really concerning issue. You know, the sheltering in place, it was so intentional, and I think it was very focused on keeping everybody safe from germs and contracting the virus, and that all of that is great. But in our kind of domestic violence world and sexual violence world, we were just really concerned about the other things that would pop up. And a major thing for me was the concerns about the youth, because I mean, most of the youth that we see, it's systems initiated, meaning there's already been a police report that has been made. And a lot of times it's initiated by the school. So without kids being in school, they were losing access to their teachers and their counselors and their extracurricular activities, all their coaches, people who they would normally, hopefully and possibly disclose to, who would be able to be, sorry if you hear my dog, there's something happening outside, who would be able to kind of initiate a report on their behalf as a mandated reporter. The youth were losing access to that because of the sheltering in place. We are really concerned about that. We are really concerned about adult victims of domestic violence because they were locked in their homes with their abusers, and oftentimes when they would make a police report, they would wait until they were in a safe place. They're at a friend's house, they're at work, somewhere where they weren't afraid of the abuser kind of intervening and escalating the situation that was happening. That was a major concern for us. So I think there's been a lot of talk about it, and I know there was a request for a bit of statistics and case studies, and I think a little bit of what Kevin was saying, like we are anticipating kind of an influx, and the numbers weren't necessarily matching up. So, and I've been on a lot of calls that are statewide and a lot of calls that are nationwide, and that's kind of the trend. So there are certainly some places where there has been statistically an increase in these types of crimes, but from what our numbers show on our hotline calls and all of that, we're not seeing that. And from what I've heard about law enforcement in particular on Kauai, there hasn't been a major increase. But I think what's really important to recognize is that doesn't mean that it's not happening. So I think it's similar things that are going on. So people not having access to the people that they normally disclose to that would initiate a report on their behalf, feeling unsafe to make a report in general. And then the other thing, we have the LAP program. It stands for Lethality Assessment Program. So when a victim, or when a police report is made for domestic violence, when the patrol officer goes out, they run through a series of questions with the victim. And that's to assess the level of lethality. And if it meets a certain risk, then the officer will put the victim on the phone with our crisis line to try and link them up with some services. So I also think with that lethality assessment, there's domestic violence elements that are happening in people's homes and their encounters, but they may not be rising to that level of lethality where we're necessarily hearing about it or where a police report is made. So a lot of psychological abuse, a lot of verbal things happening is what I'm thinking is going on, and why we may not be seeing that big influx like we're kind of anticipating. And yeah, so I can't share very case specific information from what we've been seeing because of HIPAA, but some of the trends that we've been seeing, I mean, I think everybody in the community is talking about the financial stressors and all of that, and that plays a huge role in just what happens in families in their day-to-day. We're seeing that happen in a lot of our cases and how that's influencing domestic violence. So if both parents have lost their employment because of COVID and there's added financial stressors, they're locked in their homes, their kids are home from school, there's added parenting stressors, in addition to just the regular stress of being a parent. I think that's very challenging, and so that'll escalate a lot of situations. Another thing that we're seeing is there's been a handful of children initiating reports on their own. And that happens from time to time, but I've definitely seen a little bit of an increase in that. And I think that just speaks to the level of threat that the kids are feeling and the added tensions that they're seeing in the home and feeling like they need to reach out on their own. What else? I think the biggest thing in working with the youth is the lack of social connection. You know, when they're at school and they have their sports or the extracurriculars or clubs and things, it's kind of built in. They're relating to peers, they have kind of built-in activities, and without that, they've turned to social media, which presents, you know, social media has always been a blessing and a curse. It's great, it's entertaining, we connect with people, but it's not always the right kind of connections. There's been an increase of bullying and unhealthy relationship kind of dynamics that I think has happened because they're communicating just over the phone and through social media. And there's also an increased level of threat for sexual violence with that. And I think what we're anticipating as things open up even more is kind of exposure cases, so exposure to pornography or electronic enticement kind of cases because of that. So it's kind of built in. And I think that Matthew and his department have done a really good job in terms of our agency of just really being creative and figuring out how to access the kids and how to reach them if they're not in schools and they don't have their regular programming, and trying to just be really creative in creating other opportunities to get that information to them. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover, but I'm happy to answer any other questions. And then you guys also have one of our best resources, Margie. She does a lot of work with us, and we're so grateful for her. So I'm sure she can answer any questions as well.
Thank you. And note on your chat that Matthew added a link with some information. And I'd like to thank Mason Chalk, the county council member, for joining us. He's head of the Kauai Planning and Action Alliance. And the next speaker is Alice Luck from Kauai Planning and Action Alliance. And thanks for your response, Mason, on the chat.
Thank you for having us. Mason, do you want to take it, or should I go ahead and you can jump in if I miss anything?
I just wanted to say hello to everyone and maybe give a little bit of background. I'll hand it over to you, Alice. We're about to start our council meeting here in a few minutes, but hello and good morning, everyone. Yeah, we got together about a year and a half ago or more around this subject matter of mental health needs. All of you on the island are well aware of the statistics around suicide on our island and the need for us to address it as a community. The Kauai Planning and Action Alliance has, from the get-go, really approached this from a collective standpoint. Keiki Career is looking to fill gaps. This is one of the areas identified as a gap need, which was to build resiliency in our youth. And so we have about 30 plus partners, all of which who have spoken already on today's meeting are part of our partnership. And we're looking at how it is we can integrate, really holistically look at the community and pull all of our resources together in order to provide the messages that are necessary to support our youth, to give them the confidence and the resiliency, of course, to make it through life and through difficult times. And as all of you know, right now is a difficult time. Many of our youth, as our previous speakers have talked about, are suffering. Our approach has been to really put together a campaign on messaging on how it is we can be aligned, every single person on this island, in order to, including the Rotary Club, and speak the same language around how it is we are there for our youth and reach out to them. And so it's really around these 40 protective factors of resiliency that I'm sure Alice will be able to sort of highlight for you, that we can all be practicing and utilizing, that really sort of reaches into each one of our organizations and makes it real and tangible. And so we have an action plan ready with all of our partners to disseminate. We hope that the Rotary Club will be a part of it. And with that, I'll just turn it over to Alice. Alice, thanks for taking over. I'm sorry, everyone, I have to jump off this call and start our meeting in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, as Mason mentioned, the Kauai Resilience Project was started last year, and it was launched in response to the alarming statistics about youth suicide and youth depression on Kauai. Keiki Career does the Kauai Youth Report every 2 years, and largely based on statistics from the CDC of a survey, please excuse the rooster, of a survey done of high school students, and the 2017 report showed that 9% of Kauai high school students reported attempting suicide in the previous year, and that 28% of students reported prolonged periods of depression over 2 weeks in the previous year. And so the Kauai Resilience Project was launched in response to that, to do something collectively about youth suicide and youth depression on island. And I think it's really fitting that we're going last, because we heard about all of the good work and direct service that all of the partners on this call are doing, and about specifically the work that they're doing to build the developmental assets, which some people think of as the protective factors, and the focus on the relationships. You heard a lot about developing healthy relationships and the support systems that these agencies provide for the youth who do not have those support systems at home. And it's really that support that can help an at-risk youth transition to adulthood in a healthy way and in a way that sets them up for success in life, as opposed to you know, ending up in crisis. And so you know, it's really a great thing that we have on island for the youth that these agencies are providing. And so what we want everybody to know is that there's something that all adults can do. There are things that all adults can do to support our youth, and that's based in research. And so I've included a link to the Search Institute work, and the Search Institute provides the basis, some of the foundation for our Kauai Resilience Project action plan. And the Search Institute was some of the basis for their work is grounded in the Kauai longitudinal study, which some of you may have heard of. The Kauai longitudinal study was a long-term study of youth on Kauai, and it found just reinforced the importance of the positive adult relationship between a youth and an adult. A positive relationship with an adult can really help to make the difference in the lives of youth, and can help them to transition to adulthood in a successful way. And so, you know, even if you are not a parent, even if you are not a teacher, any relationship that you have with youth, you can show up for them, be there for them, and you can be that difference for them. And so, so our action plan, the Kauai Resilience Project action plan, has four pillars. One is to increase the protective factors for youth, and that's based in the 40 developmental assets of the Search Institute, but we've distilled that down into 10 tips that anybody can do, and I'll include a link here as well to the 10 tips from our website. Just give me a second. So this is our website. Kauai's Kids Are Your Kids is the campaign that we're trying to disseminate this information to the entire island about things that everybody can do to support youth in their life. And but these are based in the research of the Search Institute. And so we are on the radio, we're on social media, we're trying to disseminate this information as widely as we can. And this is where you can come in, is to help us to spread the word about this, and to just practice these things in your life, and encourage others in your networks and in your lives to also do these things to support you. The second pillar of the action plan is the DOE is integrating social, emotional, and life skills curriculum into the schools. And so each school is choosing its own evidence-based curriculum, but that is also part of our action plan, and the DOE is a very critical partner in our work. The third pillar is to increase access for youth to safe spaces. And what we mean by safe spaces is, you know, places where youth can go to, you know, feel safe from at-risk behaviors. And so we want to look at the capacity on the island that youth have, the access that youth have to these spaces, and then it, you know, kind of fill those gaps where youth don't have access. And then the last one is to increase access for youth on island to after school opportunities as well, and healthy activities where youth can build those quality developmental relationships with an adult mentor. And a lot of the people on this call that already spoke sort of spoke to that, and the programs that they're doing for youth, at-risk youth in particular. And you know, I know that it's saving a lot of lives and keeping a lot of kids out of crisis. So we want to make that available, and then to every youth on island, and we want to solicit as many partnerships as we can on island in order to increase access and leverage resources. And that's really the work of the Kauai Resilience Project, is to work together to share data, to leverage resources. We have 30 different partners. We've got DOE and various nonprofits on island, and funders, and Native Hawaiian organizations, all working together, and we meet on a monthly basis to collaborate. The work that we're doing over the next couple months is starting to take this message out into the communities and trying to build capacity in our local communities to take this understanding of how to build youth resilience and take it on for themselves. And so we're starting this with 3 community action meetings. One will be in the Kapa'a area, one will be in Lihue, and one will be for the West Side. And so these community action meetings, the idea is that we want to, because we don't have the resources to create, after school opportunities necessarily, but we want to leverage resources and leverage influence and leverage interest and engagement from the community, and really have it be community driven and community led so that it speaks to the needs of that community. So we're going to be doing these community action meetings with the idea that they will be taking this on themselves and deciding for themselves what the needs are and how they want to work together to build youth resilience. So sort of starting little mini collective action initiatives in the communities with the idea that we will be more effective at spreading this message throughout Kauai through non-traditional channels if we actually go out into the communities and talk to people who might not be on calls like this or might not be otherwise engaged. So I think that's it. I will just say also that, we've talked a little bit on the call about suicide and about crisis in various forms, and about how people are coping with this pandemic. And you have all probably heard about the suicides that we had in May on island, and young men in their 20s and 30s. And so we are also doing some suicide prevention work, just campaign work through social media, through the radio. We've had a couple different spots on the radio for suicide prevention. And so we're trying to address the crisis that way as well in the immediate term, in terms of just connecting as many people as we can who need it with the Suicide Prevention Lifeline number, with the crisis line, with the Trevor Project, with as many, with the outlets that they need in order to get through that crisis safely. However, the Kauai Resilience Project is really focused more on the long term and building resilience for all youth on islands so that they don't end up in crisis. So that's kind of where the difference lies. But we really felt like we needed to address the recent uptick in suicides. And so we are doing that work at least over the next, through December, we'll be doing that kind of work. So thank you again for having us.
And thanks, Mason, for joining us. I want to note, everybody check your chat screen because there's some bios, some links, and other things that are value. I'd also like to recognize Vaughn Ramos from Haleopio. Vaughn, would you care to offer anything, or you're just listening? Okay. I think Vaughn just checked. There he is. Vaughn, good morning.
Good morning. I'm just listening in. I'm sure my team members, Kevin and Maya, I missed their presentation, but I'm sure they shared what we're doing. So thank you for this opportunity.
Haleopio is well represented. Thank you very much. The whole purpose of this is to figure out what Rotarians can do to offer to support the community in this time of stress. So if you have any ideas, we've, in the Rotary Club of Poipu Beach, initiated the Rotary Readers program as a result of the demise of sugar and the huge unemployment in the Kaloa community. We were able to get into the classrooms and start reading and show that the boy child, that men child can read too, and it's a good thing. And I don't know about saying this, but the whole vibe in a classroom changes when you put one of those Y chromosomes in there. When I walk into a classroom, the whole vibe changes, and I think I know that teachers appreciate my presence for the 20 minutes, half hour that I read a book. So the whole purpose of this meeting for me is to see if we can come up with other projects the way that Rotarians can help relieve the stress. And you providers can tap us if you have an idea or a note that we could help some individual, one kid. If Rotarians can help one kid, that's better than we were before. And adults, this Keiki to career idea, from kids to adults, the 18 to 25 group is really at risk because these kids graduating from high school don't know what's going on. CDL classes, commercial driver's license, could give these guys a marketable skill. A hunter safety class. A lot of these kids hunt, and there's a lot of pigs around here that can add to the nutrition of the whole community. So there's a bunch of ideas out there that may have been prompted here. I'd like you to encourage you to look at that chat room and download some of these bios. And what other questions do you have of our presenters?
I got one.
Okay, Greg.
For Maya, you spoke about the job training or interview process. How often do you do that? And I think Rotarians could easily step in to do mock interviews or training for that.
That sounds great. So the workforce development program is new. However, we've always had First Jobs Academy. And so we do try to assist our youth with resume writing, interviewing, mock interviews, job placement. And so we're always looking for volunteers in all of our programs, also Teen Court. But that would be great. Anybody who's available, even an hour a week to come and mentor or assist with any of our programming would be wonderful. Like I said, the workforce development program is new, but we do financial literacy weekly in the classes with our foster youth. So please look at your schedule. And I just put in the chat that we do have live classes on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And any of you are always welcome to do any type of guest speaking opportunity. But our workforce development program is the one that we're trying to push right now because it is our newest program.
Thank you.
And Maya's resume is in the chat that you can download for her contact information. Other questions?
Mike, I have a question for the group, if that's okay.
Sure.
I was wondering, you mentioned the readers. Were you still doing that after, like, virtually at all after everything shut down, or is there any plans to continue that if you cannot actually go on campus in some way?
That's totally up in the air. We're responding to anything else, and we're seeing if we're even welcome in the classroom when the classes reopen. There may be some protocols that preclude outsiders in the classroom. Well, have to wait and see.
Yeah, okay.
What else can Rotarians do to help? What else can any of us do to help?
I have a kind of out of the box type situation that we could possibly do to maybe take out the stress from people. Just read in one of the news cycles that Walmart is turning their parking lots into theaters or drive-ins. Having had the utilization of movies in the park for our club, maybe we can get together and come up with some sort of thing like that we can gather people to relax in their own cars and watch a movie. Just
the movies in the park was a good thing.
Right. Now we have movies in the parking lot.
So maybe in the Anna Knutson parking lot up at the park in Kaloa. We could set up
that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Might be interesting. That's a good idea.
Another thought. I asked. I put a question in chat. There was some development on the using tiny homes for the homeless, and according to Mason, he said that project has actually started in I guess was it Kalepa. I'd like to find a little bit more information on how that got developed and on the design standpoint, being that I'm a designer. And I don't know, maybe Rotary can find a piece of property. You know, we got Joe that can supply some wood and contractors that can build. So, or just maybe a planning committee that can, you know, brainstorm, you know, something similar to that to have another encampment of some sort. I don't know, maybe up in Kukiolono. Who knows? Just some thoughts, brainstorming. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Margie from the Rotary Club of Honolulu Bay. It's nice to be here. Anytime you guys are doing anything with youth or foster youth, just call me. I'm in. It's a yes. I'll just tell you right off the bat. Just, you know, listening to this presentation today, and I really appreciate everybody, all these agencies coming here today to share their experiences and what their programs are and the current needs. And the agencies serve the entire island. And I would love to see something coming more out of our district level so that we can get a coordinated effort amongst our clubs. Maybe that's something we can replicate with the different clubs in the different areas so we can have a further reach. Because there's many more of us on the district level as well. So that's the thought that's coming through my mind right now, is it might give us a better reach to help more kids across our island.
Thanks, Margie. Hey, on the info that was sent, we talked about Kids Christmas, and we've been hosting Kids Christmas in Waimea at Nana's house. We should have a Kids Christmas in Kapa'a with Hali Ho'omalu, and we shall also have a Kids Christmas on the North Shore that I would ask the Honolulu Bay Club to sponsor. In the information was a brief write-up of our Kids Christmas that we've been doing for about the last 20 years, hosting 100 child and family service kids to a bento breakfast, movie, and a Santa delivered wrapped gift. Anybody else have anything before we wrap this up? We're out of time.
I would support that idea. I think that would be fantastic. We actually have a higher need in Kapa'a, and so that would be really wonderful.
So Mark,
I'm behind helping the Kapa'a out too. We do a Christmas thing. We get Christmas gifts for all the foster children. So usually that's between 85 and sometimes up to 100 kids each year. So if we could find another way, that would be great too. But we would help out Kapa'a. I can't speak for my club, but I'll be there. Absolutely.
and we engage the high school kids to buy and wrap the gifts too. So the Interact kids, or the Avid kids from Kauai High School and the Interact kids from Island School. There's Joan Kealaleo at Kapa'a High School that handles their Interact, and you could engage the high school kids to purchase and wrap those gifts. It involves everybody. So I'm going to turn it back over to Rick. Rick, sure. You're the guy.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day to talk with our club. I think what we've done here today is sort of scratching the surface. We are going to I think you'll see a lot of processing of data, and we'll come up with some ways that we can work with you guys. And I also hope that we can invite some of you back for some more in-depth discussions, because I think today was great in terms of getting a high level, but now we need to get a little deeper into what we can do. Margie, just so you know, with Ted as our assistant governor here, we do have monthly president's meetings. And one of the things that we are looking at is doing some things more at the island level. So working across the clubs in Kauai, because I think that will be a big help. And I also have been in touch with some folks about working on the Pualoke housing project. So now, of course, I saw the information from Mason, so we're going to get involved in what else is going on there. So thank you, everyone. I think this has been a great chance for us to learn what's going on and to see some of the ways that we can help out. And we will be reaching out to you. Feel very free to reach out to us as well. And we can get through this. We're a resilient community, so we'll get through.
I want to pop in for a quick second. Is there any way that we can capture this chat, the chat thread?
Already done.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Zoom is wonderful for this stuff. So yeah, it's already caught, and I will be publishing, so that y'all know as well, I will be publishing the whole meeting out on our YouTube channel. Probably later today, I'll get that out there. And then we can start working from there. Any final questions?
Kevin, Maya, Natalie, Stephanie, Matthew, and Alice, thank you very much for your participation. And Von Ramos, thank you too.
Absolutely.
So
And thank you, Mike, for putting this all together. And we will be relying on you for some additional meetings going forward. As we build this.
Outstanding program. Yeah. Thank you for putting this together.
Okay. Well, the key to this is if something happens from it. If Rotarians are able to help one kid, that would have made this whole presentation worthwhile. But I would hope the Rotarians build from this and kind of add from our experience to reach out in the community. And now you know who the resources are and you know who the Rotarians are. We can make stuff happen. We know people, 1 and 1 equals 2, and we put 2 people together and it helps one kid. That's better than where we started. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.